Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to session 8. It's the plenary session of PAFI's annual forum. The session title is India 2030, Doubling the Economy to 7 Trillion, Policies, Partnerships and Priority. And it is my absolute privilege to welcome our chief guest, Sri Ashwini Vaishnavji, Honorable Union Minister for Railways, Information and Broadcasting, and Electronics and Information Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for a round of applause for the Minister. Thank you. The session will be moderated by Sri Virat Bhatia, who is a past president of PAFI and also the co-chairman of the PAFI Annual Forum. The vote of thanks later will be delivered by Sri Shivnath Thukral, who is also a treasurer of PAFI and the vice president of Public Policy India at Meta. Over to you, Virat.
Thank you, Shubho. Honorable Minister, thank you for taking the time and being here. I know you've had a very, very busy day and it's not finished yet, so we realize I know third shift, proverbial third shift begins now. So I'm going to, since the Honorable Minister is not given to long speeches, he said, look, why don't we dive right into the questions and let's have some discussion around issues that the delegates would like to know. And we had received some questions, so I'm going to go right into that. But the first one that I think that sort of begs the question is 100 days were completed yesterday. And there's a great deal of anticipation of that, and also what happens following the decisions made in 100 days, or that will follow for the next year. We're running into a winter session, and then after that the budget and so on and so forth. But I think the delegates would like very much to know your views on where are we on the first 100 days, and how does it look forward from here?
Friends, wish you all a very good evening. My sincere apologies for the delay in starting this session. It was totally beyond my control. I first of all thank Virat, thank Shivnath, all the friends who have been here, partnered in the journey during the first and second terms of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. And after 6 decades, a government has been re-elected for the third time. It's a historic event. It's something which is unprecedented. And in these days when all over the world we see democracies are going through huge upheavals, having a stability of this kind is something which we all Indians, all of us cherish. And I think this is also a very big opportunity for all of us to build upon what has been done in the first and second terms. I'll quickly, in fact, in one of the previous PAFI sessions, we had shared the thought process with which the government is working. Basically, there are 4 pillars. The first pillar is investment in social, digital, and physical infrastructure. As you have seen, if you look at digital infrastructure, the rollout of 5G, development of our own 4G, rolling out optical fiber, the entire digital India, the India stack. Look at physical infrastructure, the kind of pace at which we are building railway lines, we are building the highways, we are constructing ports. Look at the social infrastructure, 390 universities set up in 10 years. IITs doubled, AIIMS doubled. In 10 years, if you double something, you know, it's a huge, phenomenal growth rate. Any factor that we see, the investment in social, digital, and physical infrastructure has really given momentum to the economy. Second is huge focus on manufacturing and innovation. And that is, we have Apple in front of all of you. The kind of change we have seen in electronics manufacturing, mobile manufacturing, defense manufacturing, technical textile manufacturing, practically every aspect of our life. Innovation, we have seen the startup economy growing to a great level, totally new level, something which was unheard of. The third big pillar has been simplification. 1,500 laws removed from the statute book. Much more work to be done. I fully understand the complexities of our system which we inherited, but we are simplifying it in a very big way. The fourth pillar is huge focus on inclusive growth. I can bet you nowhere in the history of our world will you find one single example which can match the inclusive growth that India has achieved in the last 10 years. Whole population of Europe is about 450 million, right? 45 crore. We have opened 530 million new bank accounts, 53 crore bank accounts under the Jan Dhan scheme. Imagine the inclusiveness of that attempt, of that effort. We have changed the housing for 4 crore families, multiply by 5, that is 20 crore people. If you add the population of Japan and Germany, it's more than that. Any parameter, providing tap water connections, providing LPG gas connections, providing free food, free ration to 80 crore people, 800 million people, month after month after month. That kind of inclusive growth is unprecedented in human history. Many other countries have brought the people into a social safety net after they reached a level of income which was like $20,000 per capita. And we are providing a safety net at $2,700 per capita. It's a very big phenomenon which India has happened. So building on these 4 pillars, we are continuing our focus on investment in social, digital and physical infrastructure. We are continuing our journey for simplification. We do want to further stimulate the manufacturing ecosystem that we have, and recently 12 new zones, manufacturing clusters were approved by the cabinet. We continue to focus on inclusive growth. You have seen after every cabinet briefing you would have observed that for the poorest of the poor, for the weaker section, we have huge focus, and today in the cabinet we approved the Prime Minister Janjati Gram Unnayan Abhiyan, which is again a game changer. 63,000 villages will get all basic parameters on 25 basic parameters, saturation approach, housing, road, electricity, water supply, healthcare, education, market facilities, employment opportunities, complete ambit of what a life can be. So that's the thought process which is continuing. It's a continuation of our policies. The focus on reforms will continue. A very historic decision of implementing one nation, one election was taken in today's cabinet. And we all know how much disruption can happen if the growth momentum stops for 3 months. There's actually a very interesting data you would like to know. In Maharashtra, in 2 districts, in 1 year, out of the 365 days, 332 days there was a model code of conduct. When will you work? How will the country progress? So the youth wants, the young people want that, okay guys, you contest your elections in one go and leave the rest of the 5 years for working towards progress. So those kind of big decisions we are able to take because our Prime Minister believes in doing everything that is necessary for making our country a developed country by 2047. So we continue in that path. This 3rd term will be the term when we lay the foundation for developed country. First term was filling the gaps and the holes that we inherited. Second was building upon that. A lot of that went into COVID. This 3rd term will be really building the foundation for the journey beyond that.
Thank you, sir, for that umbrella picture and the big scan that you've painted, not just of what has happened so far, but the future. May I request you to now discuss with this group of delegates something that I think almost everybody understands partially. but is exceptionally keen to know, which is this exceptionally ambitious and very brave semiconductor mission. Very few countries in the world have attempted it. Obviously, some countries are attempting it out of the geopolitical reasons. But I think we have a good reason to do this. We have a growing population, growing demand. It's not just about security, but a number of things are driving it. But I think there is partial understanding of what the mission is, what it hopes to achieve, and how it is progressing. So I think this might be a sort of occasion for you to resonate on a little bit of where that is going.
That's actually very right, that very few countries have been able to achieve success in it. And we also had a long history behind what we are doing right now. We all know that semiconductor is a strategic sector. It's a foundational industry, like steel industry, like chemical industry. If you have the chemical industry, you can do many more things in the economy. If you have the steel industry, you can do many more activities in your country. Similarly, semiconductor is an industry where if you have the semiconductor industry, you can have multiplier impact on your electronics manufacturing on my right. You can have Digital India on my left, right? So much multiplier is possible if you have it in your country. So our country started this journey way back in 1962. The first attempt was made. Things didn't work out. Then 1968, 69, another major attempt was made. Early 70s, many attempts were made. Small success was achieved in 1980s when the Mohali lab was set up. Beyond that, many attempts could not really lead us to a successful development of semiconductor industry. When we attempted this program, the first thing we did was to go out to meet each and every expert in the practicing, the industry captains, and ask them that, okay, here is a dream, here is an ambition. To achieve this, what should we do? And believe you me, each one of the industry CEOs or CTOs that we met, they really guided us through this journey and gave us absolutely the right inputs. Then we took it to the Prime Minister. And PM gave us a very clear mandate that don't think of one project or two projects. Think of developing the complete ecosystem. Don't look at a 1 year, 2 year journey. Think of minimum 10 years roadmap and at least 20-year vision. So he gave us that confidence and the guidance that this is something which our country needs and we need to take a long-term view of this. So we started with that and we had to take some very difficult decisions on the way, which at some point of time we were kind of trying to figure out whether will we get a very good credible partner to develop this industry or not. But very happy to say we have now 5 units approved, construction work going on 2 units, other 3 units design work is going on, very soon construction will start. Looking at the very short time frame, 1st January 2022, the policy was released, published, and here we are in 2024, just about 2.5 years, and we have already such a nice bouquet of activities around us. We also got a lot of success on the design part of it. 23 companies, startups included, have been given the approvals for incentives under this program, and very happy to share with you that 13 out of that have already started working on the design of products, and out of those 13, 3 are in a stage where they have started attracting venture capital. That's something which is a dream coming true. And in the next version of our Semicon program, we will be looking at a much more comprehensive view of the value chain where we can get large parts of the value chain into India. Very happy to share that Applied Materials has started set up their first unit for manufacturing the equipment that goes into manufacturing semiconductors. So which was unprecedented because most people would like to use our country primarily for services. Here is one company which has shown that confidence that no, we will manufacture the equipment also. And these are very high precision equipment, right? These are really, really high precision. So that's the confidence which is visible in the industry for our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure how many of you realize, but the semiconductor mission is a matter of great national pride. Very few countries will get through with this. 2 years ago, only 2 or 3 countries tried this: Netherlands, Taiwan, US, a little bit in Korea. And China is trying to do this. This is an incredibly prestigious program, and the progress that we've made is truly remarkable. I request you, just out of national pride, to join me in a sort of applause for the minister's work in that. So next, I wanted to tell a little story. I was
Actually, sorry.
Ji, please.
Our people are behaving more like CFOs. They are so conjunced in even.
इस पे तो बहुत खोल के ताली बजनी चाहिए भाई. The good thing about working with the Honorable Minister is that he will tell you exactly what he requires you to do. So please listen carefully. I have never left his office without homework. I've always called myself, so no, there's going to be more homework. So if I can, little story, the Honorable Prime Minister took a chopper to open the semiconductor program, and when he was flying back, I got a call from I couldn't be at that. When he was flying back, I got a call from a colleague who said that the Honorable Minister has announced, Honorable Prime Minister has announced the target for electronics. Since the chopper was on top of my office, I couldn't hear the voice, so I asked him 4 times to repeat what he said. And he said it's 500 billion. So I was asking him again, I sure it's 500 billion. So now 500 billion in 6 years, just to put it in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, or even if it takes 7 years or 8 years, is the equivalent of India's industrial output today, which is 14% of India's GDP. So it's a massive target, very ambitious, very audacious, requires almost every single engine to fire. But if that happened, and if we can dream that and get it done, or come close to that, it would change this nation forever, along with including the digital revolution that follows on that. So if I could ask you to talk a little bit about that journey so far, and how do you envisage this incredibly audacious target that the Prime Minister has set for all of us?
Well, what we have achieved in the last 10 years gives that confidence that we can achieve much bigger targets. We can really meet the goals which are significantly bigger than what many of us would have ever imagined. I'll share one anecdote on target setting with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister gave us the target that we need to redevelop, completely reconstruct 200 stations. Initially, he gave the target of 50. When we went with 50, we came back with 200. So then we once again took a plan for developing 200 stations. The target was increased to 500. And you know, actually what we are doing right now, we are actually reconstructing 1,328 railway stations as we speak. So that's the boss for you, right? So he's like that. So if you go with 300 billion target, then be prepared to come back with a 500 billion or a 600 billion. You should feel glad that he didn't say 600 billion. So on a serious note, yes, achievement has been great so far. And I thank the industry, especially Virat yourself, for all the inputs that you have given. The entire electronics manufacturing industry, all of you deserve kudos for the work that you have done. And today we have shifted our mindset from import substitution to export-led growth. That itself is a huge change in the way our country thinks. Imagine 30, 40, 50, 60 years back, the only thing we would like to discuss in a forum like this is how much import substitution we are doing. We never kind of see the country, the confidence level of our country is different today. And that's what is giving us the confidence that the people sitting in this room, the people who are listening, the entire industry from CEO to the person on the shop floor, the confidence level is very different. This confidence gives us the ambition and passion, but the foundation has to be built on reforms. And that reforms foundation, we have demonstrated ample number of times that our Prime Minister is willing to take those tough calls. So the industry is working with the government to put up a package of reforms which would include deep reforms on how we can accelerate our electronics manufacturing to reach the target of 500 billion in the coming few years. Whatever be the ambition, if the hard work and the right policies can come in, it can be achieved. And we have seen instance after instance. Did we ever think that we will be able to land a man on the moon or land a spacecraft on the moon? Those kind of things were considered impossible earlier. Did we ever think that rich countries would like to take the technology from our country to those countries, right? The entire payment system. Did we ever thought that we'll develop our own 4G telecom stack, which the richest of rich countries could not develop despite trying for almost more than a decade? We have developed and we are now rolling out the 4G stack. Did we ever think that we'll be able to manufacture telecom equipment in our country? We are doing that. 40,000 crore worth telecom equipment is manufactured in our country today. So it's a different level of confidence our country has. When I went to one of the factories where the mobile phones are manufactured, the girl who was working on one of the workstations, imagine the confidence with which she was explaining. And then I asked her, जब तुम वापस अपने गांव जाते हो क्या लोग बोलते हैं? Believe you me, she is from about a village about 180, 150 kilometers away from Patna. She tells me that वो जब अपने गांव जाती है तो गांव के जो प्रधान है, गांव का strong man, the प्रधान, the head of the village and the पंचायत, उससे ज़्यादा respect उसको मिलता है वो जब बोलती है कि मैं एप्पल फ़ोन बनाती हूँ. ऐसा respect, I mean, that confidence level is there in our people today. So we will achieve it and we'll work together, the entire industry, the entire government, all of us. It's a partnership.
When the announcement was made, I made the first call to the Honorable Minister. I said, what are we supposed to do? He said, you're supposed to come and see me as soon as possible because we now need a plan. So I just want to say that the Honorable Minister has spent hours on this. In fact, this whole discussion about 500 billion itself was a 3-hour meeting in which a very intense dialogue took place. We were still doing numbers, but I think now we have a target and we all need to move forward in the best we can. So I just wanted to, next there are lots of policy professionals here, and one of the things that they have to deal with is compliances and regulations without talking about a specific sector. Personally, because of my dealings with you, I know that you are against too many compliances and you dislike hard regulations to the extent possible. You'd like people to regulate themselves. You would like companies and businesses, including sensitive ones, to try and meet or align themselves with policy objectives to the extent possible. But I just wanted to get your view as we move towards a $7 trillion economy, and there are just a host of compliances, laws, rules that businesses have to deal with every day, including international businesses, investors, etc. What is your outlook and what would be the expectation as we go forward? Because it's a very precious 5 years for us.
Yes.
And what is it that you think might be the outlook in this space in general in regulation?
How many industries would be represented here?
So
As in
across the board, maybe over 3 dozen.
manufacturing, how many manufacturing guys here? Services as in IT services? Services as in hospitality, healthcare, construction, construction equipment, resources, natural resources. Quite a lot, right?
Almost all sectors. yeah,
Almost all
covered,
sectors
yes,
are
because
represented.
these are-
I'll make a small request to all of you. If you can join together and create 7 or 8 task forces. Create 7 or 8 or 10, whatever number you would like to make. Each one you just focus on your sector, identify the simplification opportunities that you would like us to work on, like the government to work on. I can promise you one thing, we'll sincerely work on those simplification processes. And let's make it a joint effort. Let's make it an effort where we try to put on the table items which are doable. No point in writing a full novel or something which is utopian. Let's think of this is where we are today, this is where we want to go, and let's take this step, let's take the next step, let's take the next step, let's take the next step. If you can do that, and let's have a small mechanism where we are able to meet once in a month, where you guys present, I'm willing to invest 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours for each of those sessions, and then we'll orchestrate it throughout the different wings of the government and make sure that those simplifications happen.
Thank you so much. So Pafi would be delighted to do that. We have several councils.
More homework for you.
Yes, more homework for us. But this is good homework. This is the kind of homework that we hope to get at the end of the day. I think we are structured in councils. We inform others and come back to you and try and keep it precise and schedule it in terms of importance so that it's effective. So do you have a question? Do you wanted to?
Thanks for that. And just to build on that, I think the minister was true when he said he will give us homework. This is a great homework to have going forward. But sir, again, from the viewpoint of the audience, and very rare that they get a chance to engage and listen, one of the learnings that we've had, that even on the issues where there is a point of divergence, your effort has been to say, we both take a first step and then see how close we can get together. So as an advice to the policy professional community, which is kind of leading all the interface with the government, what is that one guidance you will give? Because assuming everybody will have a point of difference, what is the guidance you can? I can tell them what I have learned from you, but I want them to hear from you as to how should they approach this entire space.
A couple of points are very important in the policy and regulation world professionals that all of you are. One is, there is generally a tendency sometimes to take adversarial positions. And that happens because within the organization, you would be feeling the pressure from your CEOs. You will always be getting the, why can't you get this thing done? Why can't you explain this to the officers? That kind of thing, you will be always, that pressure would always be there on you. So then out of frustration, sometimes out of that adversarial relation comes in. My request is, instead of that, if we can always try to be a constructive voice, it will be very useful. And it requires lots and lots of mindset change to get into the constructive, because there is always a tendency that, okay, I must achieve whatever I need to achieve, and then rest of the stuff people will try to ignore. The second is trying to understand the other side. When you are interacting with any government office, whether a junior officer or a senior officer or a political official, my request will be, try to understand what is the other person's constraints, how other person is, he has to or he or she has to navigate through that environment. If you try to understand that, your ability to provide solutions which will increase significantly. The third and last thing is, try and explain the reality to your stakeholders. Sometimes under pressure, you would like to give a more rosy picture, either give a more rosy picture or give a very bad picture of the other side and try to put the blame on the other side. When you interact within your own organizations, try to give a real picture. Reality itself is a very big factor in success. Being able to understand where we stand, what's the reality, are we standing in deep water, are we in shallow water? If we know that properly, then correct decisions can be taken.
I don't think we could have got a better lesson in public policy from anyone but the Honorable Minister. So
Thank you.
thank you.
And I think it's often discussing how come we get such wholesome responses from you. I just wanted to make sure the delegates knew that the Honorable Minister has been IIT, top Ivy College for his master's. He's been a bureaucrat. He's been a member of parliament. He's worked for multinationals, not one, but two. He has run his own business. He's advised the government from the outside. And then he's been a minister. So there's nothing that we don't feel that he hasn't already felt. In fact, one time I got a call from him after a very difficult situation that we were in and said, I want to thank you for the fact that this happened because I know how difficult it must have been for you to handle this with the headquarters. I have not received that call ever, or a comment like that in 32 years, never. He sort of called me and said, I know how difficult, I was not even expecting that. So for you to know that the person sitting next to you, what they are going through, what their constraints are, when you sort of ask us to learn about your constraints and the government's constraint, is actually completely apt because you do that all the time, sir, and thank you for that. I'm going to try and take this train towards railways. Because I know it's also one of your other favorite subjects. It's an incredible opportunity for India. Railways is the sort of the lifeline of this country, something for which all of us have great memories, but also great aspirations from. Without getting into a question mode, if I could just ask you about what has happened so far and what is the vision, and there can never be a railway question without knowing about the bullet train, so I'd ask you to also talk about that.
All righty, that's a tough one. But I'm so passionate about railways that if you ask me to speak for 2 hours, I'll speak for 4 hours. So you have to stop me where to. Okay, so 1.4 billion people, fast-growing economy, needs to carry at least 3,000 million tons of cargo, and an organization which has been a solid organization but severely neglected for almost 5 decades, highly politicized in the coalition era, in an era where railways became a political bounty. How do you transform an organization like that? How do you make sure that it comes out of the perpetual losses, perpetual problems? It's something which is an amazingly complex exercise to take up. And I'm very happy that Prime Minister gave me this responsibility 3 years back. In the last 10 years, the first thing which our Prime Minister did was to try and depoliticize it. It is a technical organization, it's an economic organization, it need not be politicized. So he started putting that emphasis, merged the two budgets. A railway budget separate means all that you are allowed or you are able to do is to announce more trains without focusing on the corresponding infrastructure. The second big thing was to put the investment that was required to be put in railways. You wouldn't be able to imagine that just 10 years ago, the railway budget used to be just about 35,000 crore of capex of such a large network. Today it is 2,60,000 crore. That's the change which has happened, 10x. Then the big focus on making sure that the right technology comes in. We don't have oil in our country, right? So we might as well try and move maximum things on electricity, using electricity. So massive focus on electrification. Huge focus on electrification. Since independence, we did about 20,000 kilometers of electrification. And in the 10 years, we have done 44,000 kilometers of electrification. 60 years versus 10 years, right? Massive emphasis on constructing new lines because we need capacity. Any one of you who has dealt with railways as a customer would know how much gap the demand supply is. Even now, 31,000 kilometers of railway lines built in the last 10 years, more than the entire network of Italy or France. Last year alone, 5,300 kilometers of new railway tracks. Adding one Switzerland is 5,000 kilometers. Adding one Switzerland last year, another Switzerland the year before that, and many more Switzerlands in the coming years. That's the pace at which we are working. Bringing new technologies. The entire world moved to train sets in 1970s and 80s. And we have the first train set, the Vande Bharat train, now, right? The entire world moved to automatic train protection in 1980s, 1990s. We have the Kavach developed in 2016, certified in 2019, the first prototypes done after that, the first major contract given in 2022, and now the version 4, Kavach 4.0, designed, developed, finalized, and now taking it up on an exponential basis, right? It's a total mindset change. Total mindset change where today I keep getting this input and I tend not to believe it, but people say that now the railway officers are running after the customers. I don't believe it. Maybe people are just telling me to make me feel good, but I don't believe that. Still, a lot of work to be done, lots and lots of work to be done, but the momentum which has come in just last 3 years alone, we have added 360 million tons of cargo additional. 360 million tons in the Congress regime would have taken minimum 10 years to add. No, actually more than that, 12 years to add for your $500 billion target, right? So those are the targets we are working with. So 360 million tons added in 3 years is something which the industry is feeling the difference. People are feeling the difference. Last year we had 700 crore people travel in railways. 700 crore people. But we want to do at least 1,000 crore. At least 1,000 crore people we should be able to, people should be able to travel by railways. So that is the ambition with which we are working. And it requires tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of effort, huge amount of simplification. I'll tell you one example of simplification. The industry came and said that it takes at least 3 years, 4 years to develop a terminal to join a railway network. And now you ask them, maximum 3 months. Maximum 3 months. So much of the process we have just cut through. Taken a big axe and hacked away all the unnecessary processes which are required. Empowered the people in the field so that people don't have to come and run in the railway board. It's something which is so much required for a country. And I'm so glad our Prime Minister understands railways so well And he has an emotional connect because his childhood was spent on a railway platform selling tea in his father's tea stall. So he has that huge connect and a huge, so deep understanding of railways. I cannot share many examples, but I can share with you, so many times when we go with a project, he'll give you a perspective which is very different from others, which no consultant will ever be able to give you. I mean, no practicing professional will be able to give you, because he has lived that. So I'm so glad that we have this opportunity of transforming our country, and transforming railways is one of the basic requirements for transforming our country. And I'll welcome any inputs that you would like to give, any suggestions, any thought processes that you would like to share. It's a very open-minded government, and we want this to be your journey, not just our journey, but your journey as well, so that the country grows as an inclusive, as an all-encompassing economy.
Sir, it's an incredible story, an incredible aspiration, and the emotional quotient that you brought into that was also quite remarkable. But I'm going to insist on the story of the bullet train.
Bullet train, we started the project 2017. When the design process was happening, of course, COVID, we lost almost 2 years because of that. Then we started the process very fast, and today there is so rapid progress. When the Japanese come and visit us, they are amazed at the pace of work. Almost, I keep, what's the latest number would be, 270 or 260 kilometers of entire track structure, the viaduct, the pillars, the bridges on the rivers, all the stations, construction work is going on at very fast pace. The undersea tunnel, that also is below the Thane Creek, that also is progressing very well. The first terminal station, BKC, we had some setback because of Uddhav Thackerayji's government didn't give us permission, but when the government changed, we got the permissions, and the work is now progressing very well. It's like 10-story deep station, so it's very, very big engineering marvel. What's important is, a bullet train project should not be seen as a transportation project. It's urban economy, it's urban development that we should look at, right? I'll give the example of first bullet train project in Japan. Tokyo, Nagoya, Kobe, Osaka, Kyoto, 5 cities. These 5 economies become one economy. Mumbai, Thane, Vapi, a very large industrial estate, Surat, Baroda, Anand, and Ahmedabad. These economies will become one economy. They will all become single economy. Mumbai to Ahmedabad will become 2.5 hours. A designer living in Baroda can go to Mumbai, have the work done, and take back the evening train. And these will be trains running at very high frequency, every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. That kind of, it will not be like you wait in the first train in the morning and last train in the evening. No, there will be a series of trains throughout the day. There will be some trains which will have limited stops. So like in Mumbai local, there are fast trains and slow trains. So slow trains stop everywhere, right? All stops. So there will be all stop trains, and there will be limited stop trains. So it will be a very, very good configuration that we will have, and this is just the first project. We will be taking up many more projects across the country, because only way we can transport, our 1.4 billion people can travel is through such trains. I'll stop here, have another appointment, which is running at least 40 minutes late. So the only last thing I'll like to say, if Mr. Bhatia permits me, is last time when we met, I gave a very clear confidence to you that our economic policy will lead to 6 to 8% assured real growth. I hope you remember that. And the data has proven me right. Now I want to tell you that at least for the coming 4 years, minimum, at least for the coming 4 years, you will definitely have 6 to 8% growth rate with moderate inflation. So nominal 10 to 14%. Nominal growth 10 to 14%. So please give that message back to your senior executive teams. Make sure that your business plans are aligned to it. Otherwise, you will say that Ashwini told us 3 years back, 2 years back, we didn't listen. I'm going to repeat this next year also. If I'm invited here, I'm going to tell you next year also. Align your business plans for 10 to 14% nominal growth of the economy. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen,
I have to do the honors of the vote of thanks, and I know the minister is running late. I just wanted to ask you, but you don't have to answer it now. When will I travel in a Vande Bharat when I'm overseas?
Very soon. We already have started getting inquiries for export. 2 countries have shown interest in taking our Vande Bharat train, and we will definitely look at exporting it in the coming years.
That's a selfie we want to click and send it back to you. But very quickly, just to say, when he said he will give us 2 to 3 hours to listen to the task force, trust me, he means it.
He will.
So you park your 2 to 3 hours, and he will make sure he sits and listens and not kind of intervene, and then he will ask all the questions. But ladies and gentlemen, all I can say, Mr. Minister, thank you, and thank you for not just giving us a lesson in public policy, but also to share the conviction and the vision that you talk about the nominal growth of 10 to 14%. And I think, yes, everybody is going to give that message back. Ladies and gentlemen, this deserves not just an ovation,
Jesus.
a standing
Standing
ovation
ovation, thank
for
you.
one minister who has held these ministries back to back twice.